Today we're heading back to Brazos Bend for another hiking adventure. We'll be trekking the Horseshoe Lake Loop Trail up to the Big Creek Loop and back. We've covered the location and ample amenities of Brazos Bend State Park already, so let's dive in. To reach this trailhead, travel the park road all the way past the Nature Center and follow the left-hand curve soon afterward. This will eventually take you past Elm Lake on the left, with a peaceful day-use area to the right. Continue until you reach the last available parking area just before the final loop. There you'll spot the Horseshoe Lake Loop trailhead, along with other interpretive signage. Here's a quick overview of today's hike before we get into the specifics. We'll set off on a northward heading, which will lead us through a stand of oak trees draped with gently swaying Spanish moss. Soon enough, you'll see the southern leg of Horseshoe Lake to starboard. There are a handful of serene spots carved out for trekkers to take a seat and catch a glimpse of the lake's calm waters, along with plenty of resident wildlife when conditions are conducive. Soon afterward, you'll pass a group seating area beneath the shade of a willow on the left, and the junction with the Elm Lake Trail will become visible. We'll keep right along the bending contour of Horseshoe Lake and meander onto the first left fork of the trail shortly thereafter. With the gravel crunching beneath our feet, we'll traverse beneath scenic passages that make up much of the character of this route. Not too far in, you'll arrive at a peaceful overlook to the right. This is one of my favorite contemplative spots at Brazos Bend, with its panoramic vista of bottomland vegetation and a reliable deer travel corridor. Heading onward, we'll pass a small blackwater marsh to port. I've seen a small alligator here on one outing out of several. At approximately 1 mile in, we'll reach the connector between the Horseshoe Lake and Big Creek trails, where we'll bear left. This relatively straight stretch parallels Big Creek and is more open than either of the wooded sections it connects. There's a great spot here to stop and overlook the creek. Just be mindful if you have little ones with you, as the bank can be very unforgiving and the drop-off quite steep. Keep to the trail and you'll eventually arrive at the Big Creek Loop trailhead. We'll continue straight, passing some interpretive signage and a pair of gate posts as we embark on what is arguably the most sheltered portion of this trek. Black willow, oak, cypress, and pecan provide plenty of serene arbors that frame the trail. Wildlife today was sparse due to an enduring heat wave, but I did see a couple of white-tailed deer along with several birds on this section. Where the trail curves left, you'll see an old, weathered wooden barrier marking the boundary, and you may occasionally catch a glimpse of deer feeders that are pressed into service during annual hunts to help manage the deer population. We'll soon find ourselves heading back in the direction from which we came. One of the best things about this trail circuit is that we don't simply retrace our steps. The interconnected loops mean we're covering new ground for the majority of the return journey. We'll continue beneath the trademark tree canopy until we arrive back at the junction with the Big Creek Trail, where we'll continue straight, following Big Creek's gently meandering waters once again, taking another pause at the scenic overlook before trekking onward. At just under 3 miles, you'll arrive back at the junction with the Horseshoe Lake Loop, where we'll head left onto the portion opposite our initial journey. A short distance in, you'll arrive at a slightly elevated platform from which to view the opposite side of the panoramic vista mentioned earlier. It's a tranquil spot to ponder, pray, or compose the latest GCK hiking entry. We'll then be trekking through the home stretch, with Horseshoe Lake soon reappearing, this time to port. On a cooler day, it's fairly common to see a few alligators posted up on the opposite bank, but not in today's heat. I did, however, catch a glimpse of a perched cormorant, a few turtles, and some rather timid whistling ducks. With that, we'll pass the initial junction of the Horseshoe Lake Loop, and soon afterward, the Elm Lake Trail, where we'll keep left, back beneath the Spanish moss arbors that greeted us at the outset of our journey. We'll then wind up back at the parking lot, thus concluding a relatively light, albeit hot, 4-mile hike. My final impressions of the Horseshoe Lake and Big Creek Loop circuit are as follows. In short, it's a solid route for hikers of all experience levels. There is very little in the way of elevation change or obstacles to contend with, and it can be trekked at whatever pace you prefer. The surfaces are primarily gravel, but they're well graded. I've hiked this route several times in moderate to heavy rain. If you get the opportunity, and don't mind a little mud on your shoes, it's an especially serene landscape during a shower. As mentioned, wildlife was sparse given the heat wave. However, in more pleasant conditions, you'll likely encounter far more waterfowl, at least a handful of alligators, and probably some white-tailed deer bounding across the trail. In fact, I did have one special treat today regarding the latter. While sitting in my truck following the hike, a beautiful fawn emerged from the nearby undergrowth. It was only there for a moment, but thankfully my camera was at hand. The 4-mile duration is, in my opinion, a nice length for a casual hike. However, the versatility of this route also lies in its ability to be tailored. You can always shorten the distance by hiking only the Horseshoe Lake Loop, or extend it considerably by adding the Elm Lake Trail, which also presents opportunities to traverse the Spillway, Live Oak, Prairie, Hoots Hollow, and Prairie trails. However you choose to package it, this route is well-rounded and a great choice for just about anyone. As always, be mindful of the conditions. Plan and pack accordingly. Hike smart, and God bless.